The European Commissioner for Development, Andris Piebalgs, was recently in New Zealand on his way to the Pacific to witness first-hand European Union-funded projects with a focus on renewable energy. The Commissioner sat down with McRoberts to explain why the EU is funding these projects.
Well, Commissioner, thank you for joining us. Can I ask you what the EU's interest is in the Pacific?
Well, we have a mandate to fight poverty wherever in the world it is. And the second reason, we have a lot of sympathies to small island states that are very much affected by climate change. At the same time, they can't influence it so much. So these two factors put together our big support to Pacific states, but we are also supporting countries in Caribbean, and we are also supporting countries in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America. So it's not only Pacific that we are working in.
I guess when you look at a region like the Pacific and you say you want to help fight poverty, it's a big playing field, isn't it? What made you pick renewable energy? Well,
it's a very big source of costs for any islander, and it's also a possibility for shocks, because if oil price goes up, small island state can't adapt it. So the only way is really to diminish as a part of fossil fuels in the energy mix, because then the economy will be more robust. And at the same time also could say, well, social services or also any type of reprocessing require energy source. So I believe that that's the best way really to deal with poverty, providing energy support.
How much money are you pouring into this scheme?
Well, it's different countries, different. It is in tens of millions of euro. It depends on which country, but that's quite a lot for the size of the countries.
In fact, I think I'm right in saying that the EU is the second biggest contributor to the Pacific.
Exactly. But it's not only energy that we are supporting. We are supporting some other projects. It's access to water, sanitation. There are also some more soft projects. It's not only energy that is in our package.
This must come as a huge boost to these Pacific nations. What sort of feedback have you had?
Well, we have had energy conference here in New Zealand. And I think usually our recipient countries are rather skeptical. Well, you come, you promise, and then you disappear. And then after 5 years, you come again and promise. And the whole idea was that we are credible. Both Minister of Foreign Affairs of New Zealand, myself, says, no, we will come in a year's time, and we will be exposed if nothing has happened. But as I know, because of preparation for a visit, a lot of things have already done, and a lot of things will happen. So it is not just a ticking visit. It's also, well, some new projects will be opened. And I also have, for some islands, even increase in the envelopes that we have prepared for the next 7 years.
What do you get out of it? What does the EU get out of this?
It's a solidarity. It's a solidarity. EU is built on solidarity. I am Latvian, so part of our growth of our economy is definitely because of solidarity. We get a lot of structural funds, support to agriculture, and that's really plays a big role in our welfare. And I assume that if we have a possibility still to support, and we definitely have, we need to support others, because if general increase of welfare, we benefit as well, because the world is more safe, but it's also more growth and more prosperity. So it also indirectly influences our prosperity for the better. So I would say we definitely also gain from this. We don't lose in this anything.
It's a wonderful attitude to have, particularly when in Europe you are facing something of a crisis at the moment anyway with the Ukraine. I mean, that must be incredibly disturbing.
Well, we have basically two huge crises, Ukraine, and for Ukraine, it's really a shock, because I never have believed a couple of months ago that some things that could happen in Europe, the part of independent country will be annexed by another country. But the other country is Syria, and for Syria, there is no political solution in their view. They have been conference, but it did not give the results we expected, and it's a lot of humanitarian support needed. So we try to mobilize money squeezing from all the corners just to get decent support for refugees that is only not in Syria, but also Lebanon, Jordan. So it costs enormous, there are enormous costs. And it's rather sad that in the 21st century we face these type of problems. I thought that it's over of this type of problems, but that means that we should be very careful about security issues. We should be very much caring about international diplomacy, because both crises came out, I would say, out of Well, nothing in a way.
Well, given the difficulties that are facing you back in Europe, we certainly welcome the EU's presence here, and many thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.